Good night, Trinidad and Tobago. Tonight is Thursday, the 24th of May, and welcome to Frontline. I am your host, Felicia Holder, and we have our co-host with us tonight, Anthony Defoe.
Trinidad, how you good?
It feels so good to be back. It feels like I've been away for a really long time. I missed the show terribly, but I have to say, Anthony, Sarah, Christoph, Andrew, guys, thank you. Anthony is the other guys. Anthony is all right. Thank you so much. You all did an amazing job while I was away. I did manage to catch the show, and I made some comments on it as well. You all did a great job. You all held down the fort while I was away and while Janice is away. For those who are wondering, Janice will be returning with us next week. Hopefully, she's doing much better. And Janice, if you're watching, good night, and cannot wait to have you back. No offense to you.
No offense taken.
But Janice is my girl, and I miss you. I feel like we have not done this together in a really long time.
Yeah, we do miss you, Janice, really, big time. And I'm sure Trinidad and Tobago misses you a lot too. So, yeah, hurry back.
Yes, so tonight we have a very interesting topic, and for those who are probably wondering why did the Frontline ad come out so late, this time you were really wondering what are we going to touch on. And I personally, I had a feeling to do this topic, which if you may have seen the ad, it's called Blinded from Reality. It's local media failing Trinidad and Tobago. I got a little push to do it from my graphics, the head of communications, who also thought that this would have been a great topic for tonight, and we're going to dive straight into it. Tony, I know you guys also covered this a little bit on Sunday.
Yes, we did.
Yeah.
We did. And I mean, you know, what we're seeing is basically the media is breaking the law. They're not looking towards giving the information to the population that is rightfully supposed to be there for them to begin with. You know, pros and cons, both sides of the coin. I mean, media in itself right now is choosing what stories to put out there. And personally, this is my personal point of view, is, you know, it's systematically done. You know, there's a lot more motives behind it as far as the information being put out into the public space. It's very much controlled. You know, it's not 100% of the information as is out there. In fact, social media is what is putting what's really happening out there, because it's not edited. There's you know, that's just what it is.
Very true. And I have for those who may have seen my post on it today, I have a personal qualm with this particular issue that we're going to talk about here. And I know it's going to sound like it's coming from a chairman of the PEP kind of angle, but prior to being in the Progressive Empowerment Party, believe it or not, I had a real issue with the media in Trinidad and Tobago, like real issue. I would read the news on a morning, go to work, sit down with my coffee, open up the news, and I would be like, is this what we have as journalism right now in Trinidad and Tobago? And this is not even talking about blocking the PP and journalistic integrity, which we definitely going to get into.
Oh yes.
But looking at the headlines and the trend of the headlines, I will never forget that one, and I will not repeat it, but I'm sure you all know, those who would have seen it know what I'm speaking about. When Marissa Dick, she was the gymnast who was supposed to represent her. She actually replaced somebody.
Yeah.
And the headline that it chose to, the news there, I believe, chose to use to announce that she was in was very inappropriate. And I had to think, you know, this is the level that our local media is at. And you know, yes, they say we shouldn't compare ourselves to the first world nations, but come on, you can't be saying that you want to have a news station or newspaper that is supposed to be competing on a global level, but you're delivering news and news headlines that are literally from the whole country. And personally, I have had issues with the way local media has brought across stories. And you know, apart from the Progressive Empowerment Party being at the brunt of a lot of the backlash of the media. When I say backlash, the fact that they have intentionally, and I have to say intentionally, kept us out of the light, because I mean we're looking at the fact that two recent political parties have fallen.
And that's where I say they've broken the law, simply because, again, especially where politics is concerned, the key element for politics is media. Because the media is the vehicle that basically puts the information into the public space for the population to hear, to know the different parties and policies, for example. And again, what is the purpose of media right now? I really don't know. Again, it's controlled. It's propaganda. That's basically what it is. It's what it looks like. And I believe, and I always say, if it looks like a duck, it quacks like a duck. You see in wet feet, come now, man. Don't tell me it's a chicken. It's a duck.
It is a duck. I was looking for a quote here which started all of this for me. A journalist that I know, someone I actually went to university with, he put up a post a couple weeks ago speaking about journalistic integrity. And tonight, later on in the program, we're actually going to hear from a journalist who I had the opportunity to interview a little earlier. Unfortunately, he's based in Turkey, so it's now probably after 3 his time, 3 a.m. So he was very gracious to give us an interview, which we will play for you guys a bit later on in the program. At this point, I want to encourage you to share the live, guys. Please share the live. This is going to be a real interesting show because, like I say, it's not just about PEP and the media. It's about the media on a whole, and are we really being given the news that we should be getting? Are we really getting the facts from what is known as the local media? I cannot find the quotes right now, but basically Tony, he tagged a couple of his friends, and it was a public post, so I happened to see it. And in the post he was saying that he was talking about journalistic integrity and the fact that the media has a responsibility to the people to give the news an unbiased version of the news. So I couldn't help myself, being Felicia, I had to message and say, but what does that mean for the Progressive Empowerment Party? My party, and I claim it, my party, we have had at that point 14 public meetings, over 50 Saturday meetings, and I can count on one hand, yes, I only have one, but I can count on one, you like that joke? I can count on one hand how many times the media turn up. It was twice. Then I can put my hand down and say how many times we actually saw one of these stories covered in the papers.
Correct.
None.
Correct.
Absolutely none. So I asked him, I said, how can you quote this so very boldly, so very publicly, so very sure of yourself, when you, as the person who made this post, and he's from a very known media house, how can you say that when we have had all of these meetings and the media has purposefully, and I have to say purposefully, because Tony, you were our PRO at one point before you went over to PEP Media, and you would have personally invited the media to these events. And they have not turned up. And the ones that they turn up to, they would be there and they would cover the story. I'll never forget the Tuna Puna incident where we had our public meeting, and I saw somebody there from the media, and I was so proud, and I was like, oh yeah, we finally been making it. And then the next day, the day after, a week after, absolutely nothing in the papers. And it caused a back and forth between him and I, because he's saying, firstly, the way you came on this post, and it's very reminiscent of your political leader. And the truth is that the media has a problem with him and his style, his presentation. I said, but then you very explicitly going against your very words. You're saying that journalistic integrity points to being unbiased, getting the facts out to the people, and putting it out there for them to make their decisions. How is that letting people make their decisions if you want to block him because you have a personal bias against him?
Listen, it's two things happening at the same time where media locally is concerned. One, and especially where it pertains towards the PEP, and Philip, for example, because they are, one, blacking out the PEP and not putting that information out there, yes. All right? Now, there's two things happening is that, one, if they don't like Mr. Alexander, the point of the matter is that they are trying to infringe on his freedom of speech?
Well, it has.
Do you understand my point?
Yeah.
So that's the first side of the coin. The next side of the coin is them not putting all the information that the public of Trinidad and Tobago, the citizens of Trinidad and Tobago, is supposed to receive as far as all the political parties. Because just remember, in order to have a political party, you have to register this entity. That's where law comes in, because you're talking about, what is it? It's the election board, where you have to sign up, and this is a legal body, So if you have an existence or creation of a new party, it is the media's responsibility to let the population know that this party actually exists. So when you're saying that you want to block a party that is legal in a nation, because the media, if it's the bosses, if you want to call it that, don't like the political leader, well, what a tangled web we weave.
What a tangled web we weave. And later on tonight, when we actually listen to that interview that I had with Reagan, you're going to get some insight into that, because one of the questions I asked him was, do you really believe, given the fact that the major news media houses in Trinidad and Tobago are very publicly known to be owned and backed and financed by people who have affiliations with the very political organizations that we are going against?
Exactly.
Is the media really free? And I asked, blinded from reality, because not just the Progressive Empowerment Party, there have been issues, Tony, and I do want to bring that up, because if anybody thinks that we angry because we're not in the news, it's not just because of that. I spoke earlier about Marissa Dick and some of the headlines that they post, and do we really have a media that is being responsible?
But wait a minute, I don't want to cut you off,
No,
but you're going to say that you don't want to say that we are not mad at the fact that the media is not covering the PP, but I would tell you, for me, I'm mad, very mad, Trinidad and Tobago, and the reason I have to be mad is that the media is trying to stifle the information that the PEP is putting to the public space, and this is information that can change a nation, literally. But we'll stick up in.
Tony, do you remember, I don't know if you remember, Philip would remember this, we put out an ad right after the public rally when we were working on the teaser.
Mm-hmm.
We put out an ad on TV6 that ran for 1 minute, once. Within that time, I remember the pep literally blowing up on the scene. We blew up on the scene. You know why? Because people who did not get the opportunity, or who have been blocked from hearing about the Progressive Empowerment Party, when they saw in that 1 minute what we do, what we are capable of,
it got hit for 6.
You can
for
imagine
6 out the park.
I'm telling people, if we get the fair media coverage that Pact, who sneezed the other day and made front and Michaela Pandey, who come up with a political party, riding on her father's coattails, and I'm saying it very openly, you're riding on your daddy's coattails. We know, you might be educated and all of that, but come on, what policies and plans have you put towards fixing Trinidad and Tobago? I want to hear that first.
Break it down. That's what we want.
Break it down to the people.
That's right. Break it down to the people. Don't just come and say, we're going to spend $50 billion here, and you're not going to have an itemization as to what this money is being spent on, or how the mechanics of it actually works. Break it down in layman terms. Let the population understand. And let me tell you, PEP is the first political vehicle that is doing that for the population, where the policies, at least the first 21 policies that the PEP has presented thus far, we are breaking it down to the population. And again, when we try to have the media be able to get this said information, to be able to put it into the public space so the nation and citizens can see, hear, and know the options which are available to them. Again, you would say that you're not mad. I am totally upset. And personally, for me, in a very not too distant future, I would like to create a march of sorts where this whole media thing is going on, because we cannot allow this to continue, because if it does not happen with us, listen, if PEP just suddenly disappears for some reason, God forbid, and another political body comes in with probably, let's say, a very similar vision as to how PEP is proposing to move our country forward and bringing us to first world status. What is it? Media is going to do the same thing? Or is it that if media or the 1%ers are able to buy into that political party, then it's okay? This is the question of the day, and no one wants to talk about that. But you know what? We're here and we're going to talk about it. We're going to put it into the public space, and you tell us what you think. You know what I mean? We're going to have a call-in session soon, and that number, I'll just throw that out there real quick. 342-8PEP, which is 342-8737. So write that number down, keep it in memory, and in a little bit we're going to have a call-in session real quick, and we can just touch base and know what's on your mind, Trinidad.
Also, feel free to send your WhatsApp messages to that same number
That's
that
right.
Tony just called out, which is 342-8PEP or 342-8737. We will answer your questions on air. We will take your calls as well. Tony, with what you were saying again, I mean, it's not, my thing with the PEP though is not just the fact that we are putting out these solutions, is that we are speaking about the things that nobody else is speaking about.
That's the point.
And that is another one of my issues with the media, and I do want to talk about that, which is the fact that in terms of responsible journalism, I don't feel as if right now the media are asking the questions that they should be asking. For example, we see it all the time. Government spends $400 million to rent empty buildings. How could you publish a story like that?
And not have questions behind it.
And not have questions behind it.
That's the point.
How can you publish a story saying a woman was married to a man at the age of 13 and had children for him by the age of 17 and put a full stop at the end of
Right.
that? That was the Kunti story, for anybody who's wondering, which I actually heard there was a follow-up to. I did not get to read it in time for tonight. But how could you, that to me is a level of irresponsibility that makes me wonder how on earth our media is even allowed. Like, isn't there some level of what you have to get some kind of credentials to be a journalist? Like, who vets these stories? Who are the editors? Who are the people who put out news stories like these and don't do any follow-up on it? That story with Kunti, that was a personal one for me, because the first thing I did, I waded through all the nonsense and the chatter about, she ran away and man, and forget all of that. I did the math. I saw this man was 45 or 35 years old, and this girl was 13 years old, and I saw a newspaper and the news publish a story like that, and nobody asked any questions. Nobody looked at the fact that, maybe her situation now could have been a result of what is clearly abuse. I mean, Tony, a girl's 13 years old, that is a child. I remember myself at 13 years old, I was still climbing the Guava Tree home. Yes, I used to if you all watch the 411 video, you all know I was a little tomboy. All the little marks on my knees and stuff. Rail tree I used to climb. Tree on the wall and fall off and all kind of madness. But how could you, put information like that out there and not turn around and do some level of
real journalism?
Real journalism, people.
Yes.
Yeah. People don't forget to share it live, and we are taking calls. That story with the Maracas car park that cost how much? $60 million to build.
And wasn't there some issue with the contractor pertaining towards that
yes,
entire?
There was an issue with the contractor, and
has it been resolved? Did you get word that it was resolved?
Not that I know of, but I do know that contractor was given another
contract.
another contract before it was resolved.
That's how we do it, Trinidad. You get rewarded for doing garbage.
That is how we do it in Trinidad and Tobago.
Oh boy. And we wonder why things are so the way that it is. You know what I mean? Trinidad, we can't be going down the road we keep driving that message home, we are we are sane people. We're supposed to be a sane people. When we see nonsense, we can't stay quiet about it anymore. We have to be heard. We have to voice our opinions, voice what is on our minds. And if there's something that you're not liking, I mean, you have to have yourself heard. You may be right, you may be wrong, but at the end of the day, you just don't keep it inside. We can't keep it inside. As a nation, we can't keep it inside. And the first step right now, media is the key element for the population. Media, it's not supposed to be a controlled entity. The information coming out of media houses are not supposed to be directed and controlled. It is supposed to be free flow of information. This is the whole purpose of media. So how the heck do you expect the nation and citizens to be able to make better decisions if they don't have all the facts and all the figures and everything that they need to know in order to make a better decision? That is media's responsibility. And they are not meeting the grade. So my question is who is the body that the population has to go to ensure some level of accountability and transparency where the media the media houses are concerned here locally in Trinidad and Tobago? You know what I mean? Because as I see it, I think they are basically supported by government. That is what it is. That is what it is. It's supported by government, and that should not be the case. And if it's not supported by government, it's supported by the financiers of the said governments or political parties in that case. So, I mean, really and truly, we need to come to some level of a resolve for this, and we need to know. I mean, I think PP is trying to get our own license and get our own stuff and put our own media house out there with real news, real information, with followed up stories, giving you things every step of the way. When you look at a media house like, for example, CNN. Now, don't get me wrong. They themselves have their own propaganda campaigns that they have, you know what I mean, as what we would not know about. But anyway, that's another story for another day. But my point is that when you look at the international media houses and how they cover news, you sometimes have a story that would run for an entire week.
Yeah. The follow-up, and that was one of my points actually, follow-up on our stories are so very poor.
This is it.
You would hear something happening today, it would literally go through the cycle of a Trini mentality. By tomorrow and Saturday, you don't hear anything about it again. There have been times that I have personally gone looking, and for anybody who knows my story and my involvement in the PP, that Shannon Banfield story was one that it cut me deep. Like it really cut me deep, and I looked at Shannon and I saw myself. I saw a young woman who was in Port of Spain, like I have been many times, was in Pennywise, like I have been many times, and whatever the incident that led to her death, it was something that I would say haunted me, I would say stayed with me. And I personally remember looking and going to every news station, every newspaper, every online blog, looking for information on her story, trying to find out, are we getting any closer to solving the mystery, her murder. And I'll never forget when, just over the course of, as soon as the news, got stale, just stopped hearing about it. And maybe once on the anniversary of her death, you would get a headline. But who is actually doing the investigative reporting on issues like these? This is how cases go cold. And when I say cold, I know it's the police job to actually be doing the investigation. But there's also a responsibility of the media to keep highlighting these things. And I've seen where media pressure has actually encouraged the police to keep doing their job. Because no policeman wants to know that, boy, we in the papers for 5 months now,
be shined up.
and we have no progress on this story.
Yeah,
we have no leads,
correct.
no suspects, nothing.
Yeah. You see, and that's the next point. Media is not showing the level of incompetence that we have within public office holders. They're not highlighting the level of incompetence that we are dealing with. And again, if they followed the story the way it's supposed to be followed, then you would be able to unmask. a wealth of incompetence that is taking place across the board within the public sector. And again, what is our position?
My position is we need to start our, like you said, we need to start
our media house.
Our own media house.
That's right.
And if not just to get the airplay that they are clearly denying to the party, to just get the information out there. Because,
factual information.
That is my issue. I guess my main issue, because yes, the Progressive Empowerment Party, we are pushing to, you know, our agenda, and we are trying to encourage people to join and buy into what we're saying. But the one thing that I gravitated to with this party was the level of information that we are putting out.
That's right.
I can now say, I know as a citizen what I'm entitled to. I can now say that I know how much money the government is spending and what I'm seeing as the output of that. And the fact that we're empowering people and this is not making its way to the masses, to me that's a type of...
They want the population to be dumb. They don't want the population to make better decisions. They don't want the population to have the proper information that they need. They don't want it. That's the bottom line, because they don't want that gravy train to stop. That's what we're talking about. Everything on the ground here in Trinidad is interconnected somewhere or the other. And if you have every institution that has some level of corruption and mismanagement happening with no accountability or transparency, I mean,
oh my God.
You really think that they would want... What was that?
I'm seeing somebody here mentioning Akil Chambers. You remember that person?
Mm-hmm.
Remember Akil? I saw an article, I believe it was sometime last year, and with all the information that the police got, with everything, they still have not been able to see absolutely who killed Akil Chambers. And that is another story that we heard about and just went cold. And we hardly had any follow-up on it. And now it's over, I think it's over 20 years now that story has, broke. And still nothing. But people, I don't want to go on too long. Like I said, we did have an interview with Regan Devine earlier. And he offered some really good insight as a journalist himself. He's now based in Istanbul, and he gave us some really pretty good insight into journalism and journalistic integrity. Very unbiased, in my opinion. Maybe my opinion might be a little biased. But at this point, we are going to pause to play that interview. It's nothing that you can see, but you're going to hear it. I do invite you to listen very closely, because he gave us some pretty good information that I think you will find much interesting. Let me just load that up for you guys. And producer, we have no water this week. Oh my gosh, I am so thirsty. You'll not starve me. You'll have my throat dry this week, Lord. Okay. Okay, so Regan, do I have that correct?
Yes.
Yes, Regan Devine. How do you pronounce that? How do you pronounce your name?
Regan Devines.
Okay, I got it right. Firstly, one, thank you very much for agreeing to do this interview. I know it is after 1 in Istanbul, and I know you're very tired after a long day, so the fact that you're doing this is very much appreciated.
Sure.
Firstly, for my listeners and my viewers who do not know who you are, I don't know if you'd like to introduce yourself.
My name is Regan. I'm a Trinbagonian, but I work right now as a journalist in Istanbul.
Okay. And I don't know if you want to tell us a little bit about some of your past deployments, because I've seen that you've been across the world.
Yeah, I started off as a television producer and presenter at Gaia TV. I was there for about 8 years before I started studying journalism. Moved across to CNMG for maybe half a year, and then I left Trinidad to become a news anchor in Ecuador. I was transferred by that organization to their Caracas branch, which was in Spanish, to be a news anchor there, as well as an international correspondent for the English office in Ecuador. After that, I came back to Trinidad to do a few shows on Carnival, and then I left for Istanbul, and I've been here since.
Okay. Sounds like a well-traveled man, and I hope, I hope you're having fun with all these new experiences abroad and such.
It's definitely interesting.
All right. So our topic, as you know, because I sent it to you earlier, we're talking about journalistic integrity and the responsibility of the media. Now, I picked you for this because we had a discussion about this a couple of weeks or maybe months ago,
Right.
informally, and I also, from what I've seen about you and the little that I know about you, you seem to be, in my opinion, a very fair and unbiased journalist, and I thought that you would be really ideal to have as a guest speaker on the show with us tonight. So my guests would have heard my personal feelings with regards to journalistic integrity as it pertains to local media. And I wanted to get an idea from you. What do you see journalistic integrity as and responsible journalism as?
Well, ideally, a journalist, as you said, is supposed to be unbiased, supposed to present a series of facts for a listener or a viewer or a reader. And the reader, listener, or viewer is supposed to or should be allowed to make decisions on his or her own based on information presented in front of them. Now, there are different types of journalism, obviously. When it comes to press and television, there's analytical journalism. These days, we see more and more news agencies picking a side when it comes to left and right politics. Which is becoming very normal. But ideally, journalism should just present facts, just inform, basically, and allow the viewer, reader, or listener to decide his or her course of action based on the facts given. In terms of integrity in journalism, journalism has changed a lot over the years. There are very few organizations that allow for impartial storytelling because of the business aspect in journalism. Quite often you'll find media organizations that are financed by governments or private entities, which would give a perception of limitations at times when it comes to reporting the news and telling stories. Quite often, those limitations are perceived by the management within those media organizations out of fear for a job loss to report on certain things, especially when the owners or managers or backers of that organization are the focus of certain stories. So integrity in journalism it's hard to describe because quite often you have a mix of both. There is integrity in organizations, but there are limits to it. Most organizations, when it comes to the media, will try to be as impartial as possible, but they will have their limitations when it comes to not reporting news or not covering stories that feature negatively the backers of that organization, whether it be private or public.
Okay. So you use a very interesting word there, impartial, and based on your definition and understanding and own feelings towards, being a responsible journalist and journalistic integrity, can you say that, or do you believe that Trinidad and Tobago has an element of free media? And I ask this question because it's not hidden knowledge that our major news stations are owned and backed by very clear political investors and people who are definitely aligned to certain political organizations as well as governmental organizations. So do you believe that we have that level of free media in Trinidad and Tobago given these facts?
From my memory of local media in Trinidad and Tobago, we used to say once that the news there is really advertisements punctuated by news, as opposed to news punctuated by advertisements the other way around. I do recall in some media houses that I've seen, observed that they would avoid certain stories or paint, for example, political parties in certain light, avoid certain stories when it comes to political parties. I don't think that the media in Trinidad is in a position financially to really pursue what ideally they would want to pursue. Of course, certain media organizations, or probably all of them, would like to be impartial. But journalists are also human beings who put food on their tables for their families. And so some people have made a decision to play along with certain rules when those games come into play, if you understand what I'm saying. So, say for example, a lot of people frown upon CNC3 quite often, I hear, because of who their backers are, because of stories and perspectives that they would take or not take. CNC3, in my opinion, they are quite excellent in terms of how they tell stories. They are quite qualified journalists that work in CNC3.
Wait, I have to interject there.
Yeah.
CNC3, is this the same owners of Guardian Media Limited?
Yes, from what, yes, I believe so.
Who recently put out that story with my dear girl, oh my gosh, this athlete. Is it it's not Garrels. I can't remember her name, sorry, it's escaping me right now.
I think I know what you're talking about, yes.
Yeah.
About her personal life and her sexuality, etc.
Yeah, and the same media who were quick to jump and say that Devon Matthews died from a taking Herbalife and without verifying the story. I mean, I have to ask because, I mean, that and for me is a different experience.
Across the world, every single media house, no matter how reputable it is, will make mistakes. And those mistakes will continue in the future, no matter how qualified the journalist or how professional the organization. These mistakes will happen, and these are at times bad judgment calls by the management in those organizations. But nonetheless, CNC3 does have good journalists. I've never worked there, but they do have good journalists. And so each journalist, rather, will be faced with certain decisions when it comes to telling stories and telling and deciding the direction which the story would like to take. But integrity, as you pointed out earlier, is not holistic when it comes to media, not just in TNT, but the world. Even CNN has its backers. CNN is a highly left-wing media organization, and so takes a side when it comes to politics there. So, I mean, it's hard to really say that journalism should be impartial when at times the public needs to be protected from the styles and the decisions of potential dictators. You know, Donald Trump, as we all know, we all have different opinions on him. Some journalists have the opinion that he should not be in power, and they would give you some great reasons why to justify those reasons. Whether or not we agree or not, integrity can come up as a subject when it comes to reporting on Donald Trump. Do we just put the information out there and hope that the listeners and viewers can decide rationally on their own? Or should we give more precedence to the left's perspectives on Donald Trump as opposed to the right's, based on the fact that the right does not always give truthful information on the President of the United States. And so integrity is really tossed up in the air there, because sometimes there are times when a side must be chosen for the benefit of the viewer, because the viewer is not always able to journalists are not always able to give the viewers the information that they need to get. At times, for example, many times where we've had to cover stories on the deaths of children, we can't give the full story because we're not allowed to show imagery of those children, and hence we limit the story to the viewer because we believe that the viewers are too young to see these images, will squirm at these images, will be offended by these images. And so integrity as well comes up in that scenario where we have made editorial decisions to limit a viewer's understanding of the story. And so integrity is really a very big blanket word to describe the limitations that we place on ourselves when it comes to giving the full story to viewers who really and ultimately that they should be allowed to make the decisions on their own.
Okay, understood, and thank you for that. You brought up Donald Trump, which, I mean, I had this jotted down here, and I'm glad you brought it up because you brought up the fact that, some people believe that he is a dictator and he should be more or less, controlled. And we have the left versus right, and we have the CNN versus the Fox interpretation. And when you look at Fox, you get that they are more sympathetic towards Donald Trump, whereas CNN, you can tell that they would take any story and run with it to make him look like the bad guy. But something that I can very clearly say, and I think anybody who can look at the outcome of the U.S. elections today can say, is that whether he was seen as a dictator or whether his views were just crazy and however they were presented, he was never stifled, however. And I have to segue into that topic that you and I ended up having a back and forth, and very agreeable back and forth on, and I really appreciated your opinion on it. But it does, apart from me feeling as if the media in Trinidad is not a free media, it's not an unbiased media, it's the fact that today I had to calculate for my graphics artist how many meetings we would have done, we being the Progressive Empowerment Party, in the past year and 4 months. And the tally on public meetings was 15. That to me is enormous when you consider we're not even in an election season and we are a brand new political party. I started to count on my fingers how many times I saw the media turn up. Twice of those 15. And I started to count how many times did I see those stories that they covered in the papers. The answer was 0. So my question to you is, we're saying that, the media should allow people to make the decisions to themselves. You're also saying that the media has a responsibility to protect the people. However, it's not a form of bias if you think that what you're protecting the people from is based on your own opinion, because we have a lot of people who, and this, social media is the platform for the Progressive Empowerment Party. That is where we have the strongest footing. UNC, PNM, they cannot compete with the marketing and the presence that we have on social media. For a year and 4-month-old party, I would pretty much pat myself on the back and say we're doing a really good job on a skeleton crew and a skeleton budget.
Thank you.
However, those people that we target on social media, I would say that they have been informed, they have been allowed to make decisions for themselves. Some people like the party, some people don't. Some people like Philip Edward Alexander, a lot of people don't. And the fact is, social media has given us the platform to allow people to make those decisions for themselves. However, the media, like I'm pointing out to you, local media, the fact that they have refused absolutely to cover any of our meetings or any of our gatherings, it says something. And should it be the responsibility of the media to determine what the people see? Because
I'm going to pause there because this was a very lengthy, well, not very lengthy, it's a half an hour interview. We're a little bit past the 15-minute mark.
And I know you want to hear his answer to that. We actually want to continue this topic next week and possibly have a journalist join us live, crossing fingers. I mean, like he said, this is their bread and butter. So I don't know how eager we're going to have people to join us. But at this time, we will invite your calls if you have any. As you would have heard on that interview, Reagan is basically pointing out the issues that the media has, and he goes on further in the interview to talk about it. The media here, they have to basically sing for their supper, and that's the truth behind it. And the fact that newspaper sales are declining, people not really watching the news anymore, they turn into social media for their news, it has impacted the media houses. Now, again, we have approached this topic from our perspective of PEP is not getting the media coverage that we need. We also approach it from the angle of the media is not being as responsible as they need to be, and we think that they need to be. But what he was giving insight into is how, reasons behind that and why. Now, I don't know, Tony, how you feel about that, knowing that this is their job and they can't, I guess some of them feel like they can't cover the PEP because of who is backing them.
No, but that's the point. That is a great point that Reagan had mentioned, because again, the media is basically they are basically partnering with a political entity, if it be the PNM or the UNC, or well, those are the two players in the game right now. And you know what is so upsetting? You have political bodies such as like the MSG. I don't even think they even ran for a seat, have they, in their history? And they've been around for like forever. And it's like, I mean, I don't understand. They can get the coverage. But my point is that it's not a matter of the coverage for us, Trinidad and Tobago. It's the coverage for the policies. It's the coverage in the information the Progressive Empowerment Party is putting out into the public space that can actually help change the landscape of Trinidad and Tobago, that can actually help the citizenry of Trinidad and Tobago. I mean, that is where I really feel that it's simply not fair, because we are depriving our citizenry of betterment. Literally. We are doing that, and again, now you have to sit and wonder. These people are not patriotic. These people might be Trinidadians, yes, but the mindset in which they hold. But again, Reagan made a great point where journalists and just the industry in itself is about putting food on the table. You know what I mean? But again, Trinidad and Tobago, the Progressive Empowerment Party proposes to raise all citizens like a rising tide. We want to make hope and opportunity a reality for every born Trinidadian on the soil.
Silent, like.
And Tobagonian.
Trinbagonians, yes. I was corrected about that today.
Correct.
No. To keep reminding myself
that's right. We
Tobago,
have to.
It's part of the country.
Trinidad
and
is not Trinidad without Tobago.
Amen
End of
to
story.
that.
End of story. End of story. It is not. It would never be if personally for me, if we were to lose Tobago, let's say Tobago decided to go independent. Anyway, we're going off the topic. I'm not even gonna. I'm putting pins all over the place on that.
Stick a pin in that.
No. Yeah. Right. But Reagan made a lot of great points, and what makes his word really good as well is that he is a journalist. He has the experience under his belt. He has worked within the industry here locally as well as internationally. So I mean, the man knows what he's saying, and we have to take great heed of that. We have to listen very carefully. Not to say that he's going to say something and we're going to say, okay, that's it, and we go. No. It's information, Trinidad and Tobago. That's the key. That is what will change our nation. Information. I mean, why do you think the internet is such a big thing? Why do you think it's like the new evolution in our history and civilization? Because the internet brings information to the masses. The whole global climate have changed since everyone has access to information. And again, thank goodness for the internet, because else we wouldn't have been able to make a note.
That's what I was just about to say. I mean, if it wasn't for the internet, you guys would not be watching
Exactly,
this program now.
exactly.
You wouldn't even know about the PP to be. And Regan, again, I'm really sorry we can't play the entire interview, because he actually goes on to give us a lot of kudos to the fact that we are dominating the social media scene. And I see the other party is trying to play catch up. I'm sorry if you're just going to have to like ride in the dust. I mean, I don't want to get cocky or anything, but the reason why we are like this, people, is because because of the disadvantage that we have had on local media, we have had to make a name for ourselves on social media. So at this point, I mean, the Donald Trump campaign, I was reading an article on that yesterday. He won that campaign basically because of the internet, because of social media, because of, I mean, a lot of it was because of fake news. But the fact is, there was never time that you could go on Facebook and not see anything about the Trump campaign.
True. It changed the whole dynamics of the game, and that is also what media is so in fear of. You know, they know that, and again, is why government as well is trying to infiltrate social media and have some level of control of that body. Look, I mean, I am so frustrated.
Don't be frustrated, Alan. Listen, call me Mrs. Hope and Opportunity, but I have hope. I believe, again, I wouldn't be doing this if I did not believe that we can actually make a difference. Right now, we are going through this whole media blackout. Right now, the media would not give us the time or the attention, and I thank my mother for this. I'm a strong believer that everything happens for a reason, and for all you know, the next election campaign might be fought and won on social media, for all we know. I mean, we've just seen it happen with the United States. We don't know what is going to be in store for us. What I do know is that whether the media is going to give us the time of day or not, the Progressive Empowerment Party is not going anywhere. We are here to stay. We will be fighting this on social media, on local media, when we can afford to pay for it, because understandably they want us to pay for it. I get you, you have to sing for your supper, but there's nobody, there's no party, there's no manifesto, policy, anything that I see that can compare to the Progressive Empowerment Party. People can say what they want about us. I know that this party has the answers to fix Trinidad and Tobago. If you don't believe so, then you're being naive, and you might as well stay in your tribalist party, or one of those people who say, well, I don't believe in politics.
No, Trinidad, all you had is city light.
Tony, if I could have shined the light on every single person, I would be creeping around in the night.
No. And again, PP, we stand by the fact that we are not leaving any citizens behind. 0 citizens being left behind.
Of course, I mean, we don't want to intentionally, but you have to admit that there are those who they don't want to come. You have, and you can't, how much you gonna fight with those, Tony?
No, it's not, Gil. I would tell you, you see that saying that Philip had said to us some time back, where in that Woodstock environment, that one guy got up when everybody was sitting down and just started dancing. Everybody was looking at him like a madman, loco, crazy.
Oh, that
You know what I mean? And then you had 2 people got up next to him and start the whole masses watching that again, and start laughing at the 3 of them. No, you had 10 more stand up, 20 more stand up, 100 more stand up. Next thing you know it, everyone is dancing. The point of the matter and the moral of that story is this: we have been accustomed with a situation for the last 50 plus years. There's been a way that we've been running this country since our independence, and what we're saying is that, with a level of common sense, not all just education and all these master's and bachelor's degrees, with a level of common sense, we're saying that Trinidad and Tobago and its citizens can be living in a lot better conditions. We can have a lot better in healthcare, in crime prevention, in protecting our borders, protecting our resources, developing new industries, for example. I mean, Trinidad and Tobago is so poised since the Queen left to be the leader of this hemisphere, of the Western Hemisphere. I mean, we are categorized per capita, the third richest economy in the Western Hemisphere. Listen, had we done the right thing from the start, we may have been number one. And that's what we're seeing. But you know what? I just feel 2020 come around, God willing, we're in office. Let's consider it us now gaining our independence. Every citizen of this country born is now going to gain their independence. Hear what I'm telling you. PP will make sure of that.
I think 2018 and, not 2018, sorry, 2020, and most importantly, a PEP government would be the new start of Trinidad and Tobago.
We will gain first world status.
We will forget 1962 because
Really?
for me right now, 1962 means nothing except on paper. Real independence, like you're saying, would begin when people
2020.
can feed themselves.
That's
when
right.
people have access to healthcare. When people can turn on the pipes and get water. To me, that is when you know you have a country. Right
21
now,
policies.
shine it up.
21 policies, and that's just to start with.
Havana,
We're not saying that we're going to accomplish all of them. We're not guaranteed to be able to accomplish all of them in the first term. But listen to me. A great part of this will be succeeded.
The things that are needed to make the country work will be implemented.
That's right. That's
right.
right.
That is our
That's
promise to you. If not, come and find me. I live Belmont. I'm not saying exactly where, but you can find me and hold me accountable to that. Anyway, as usual.
Is time has gone?
Time is
No
gone.
way.
As usual, I mean.
Part 2 coming next week, Trinidad and
Part
Tobago.
2 is coming.
Yes.
I
Look out for it.
do want to promote an event, people. All my Floridian peppers, for those who don't know, that's my peppers from Florida. They are having their first, give me a drum roll, meet and greet. Is this their first? Yes, I think it's their first big meet and greet.
Yeah.
On Saturday the 9th of June at Welby Lake Club. That's 10931 Northwest 39th Street, Sunrise, Florida. You can text or call 301-801-1566. I will repeat that again. It's 301-801-1566 to RSVP. Now, this event is a potluck. Walk with your food. Drinks will be provided. That includes beer. Bring your friends and family. It's free to attend. It's open to all. From what I see about the venue, it looks very
I'm
nice.
going to try to make the trip Florida.
Tony,
I'm going to try. No, nothing.
How you can do that to me?
I don't want to hear
just
you.
came back from Canada and I begged
My point. She just came back. Hot for Tottenham.
I begged. Listen, that was a vacation, okay? For everybody who, guys, by the way, right now I am 30. I will take a round of. I'm officially 30.
30, you know what that means?
It means that I am old and I need to start dying the grace that the PP is giving me. But I'm now 30. That's what I did when I went to Florida, and I begged Tony to come to Canada. I went alone.
Work, like
Rihanna said.
Work here at the PP and work in my own establishments.
But
I wish
Tony, if you could go and represent us, that would be really
I would
awesome.
love to. I really would love to, but I can't promise Trinidad
You hear
and
that?
Tobago.
He just told you he coming.
I said I'm going to try to come. I'm actually going to see how I can shift around my schedule and stuff. I have a couple projects on out there that I have to kind of babysit.
Okay.
But there's another story we're definitely going to be coming with here at the Frontline with local. Anyway, we're not even going to talk about it right now.
Sell it out?
Yeah, I ain't going to sell it out.
Anyway, so my Floridians, I wish you a very successful event. I'm going to post this now. That is exactly 2 weeks and 2 days away. I know it's going to be fun. You guys have been looking forward to your first meet and greet for the longest while. Again, really sorry I'm not going to be there, but I know that Jean-Claude and Andrew and Christopher and Salz and all of those people, they're going to have a really good time and take good care of you. So I'll post this graphic at the end of the show. So anything on your end, Tony, before
again, Trinidad and Tobago, thank you so much for tuning in to the Frontline this edition. Don't forget Stanmore 19 Stanmore Avenue, noon, every Saturday. Come on down, let your voices be heard. We are starting a great initiative which we spoke about last week, which is the pet farms, and you know, things are vamping up, and it's getting really, really excited. So again, we want to hear from landowners as well as farmers. If you don't have lands that you are able to work on or toil or do what you have to do, my point is that this program is going to allow you to, we're trying to connect all the dots within this program, and help our people. That's what it is. So definitely swing by 19 Stanmore Avenue, 12 noon every Saturday, as well as
team.
what's that?
Comedy team.
Comedy
Saturday,
team.
I will be
Yeah.
there. Tony will be here this
That's
Saturday.
right. Yes.
Tony, Philip, come meet the people behind the not television. You see me not on media, local media. Come meet the people behind your computer and your phone screen.
Yeah.
All those watching on their cell phone.
Part 2, don't forget part 2 next
Part
week. You
2
have to
next
tune
week.
in, and it's going to get real ramped up. Take my word, and I'm sorry we weren't able to actually have those calls. I know we sent that number out, but definitely next week we're going to have some calls, and you know, you can have your say and that type of thing. So Felicia.
Yeah, at this point, guys, again, thank you for tuning in, and have a very safe night, and we will see those who can make it on Saturday and those who are going to tune in to Frontline next week. Have a great night.